Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Ukulele Uncleground podcast. My name is Aldrine Guerrero. Joining me are Mr. Aaron the Voice Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
Mr. Kahai the Legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's
Legend. Hey, what's up, man? We are here. There's the three of us, the original three. You know, no guests, no nothing this week. That means it's the maximum amount of Ukulele Underground podcast that you're gonna get. It's the purest form, right, Kahai? This is you. This is blue. Right? If for any Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay.
That kind of no, we shouldn't make that reference.
Yeah. How dare you? It's totally not because I have not seen Breaking Bad.
What? You've never seen that show?
No. I've watched all seasons.
Okay. No, did you? No, for real. I need to know. This is very important to me. Have you not seen Breaking Bad?
We'll see. Well, I don't know. The pizza on the roof. Oh, great.
Okay. Or is it just the memes? You just kind of know the memes from it.
No. I totally watched the whole show.
But yes, welcome to the Ukulele Uncleground podcast. Welcome to the Ukulele Uncleground podcast. What we do here is we answer any and all of your ukulele questions, however we may get them via email, via text message, via live chat, whatever, via on the side of the road. We'll answer whatever you want. You got questions, we got opinions about those questions that you may have, right? Sometimes we provide answers, but you know what? Just to cover ourselves, we'll just say these are our opinions, our own, and no one else's, and does not reflect on the what should we say? Ukulele Uncleground and its subsidiaries, whatever. Okay,
parent company.
Yeah, parent company.
Yeah,
is
definitely
like
not.
Yeah, definitely not. These opinions are our own. Okay, so we are live, so you can type in a live chat if you have a question. Sometimes we get emails beforehand. We'll try to answer those, but any which way you look at it, Kahai will sift through those questions via the live chat or email or text or whatever it may be. He'll baton pass it over to me. I'll try to give you my best 2 cents, and I'll baton pass it back to these two guys. They'll put their 2 cents, and then I will come up with the best 6-cent answer just for you, right, Kahai? Mm-hmm. See how I made a subtle, like Pokemon reference with without it being too nerdy.
You see, you got me on the Breaking Bad, and I was like, is baton pass a Breaking Bad?
No, it's a Pokemon reference that like.
I know that one.
Keep all your stats, baby.
Yeah.
Keep all the stat boosts. Just baton pass it over to the smear goal. You ever did that combo? Hell yeah, man. Anyway, so Kahai, what's there to discuss, bud?
This was a last minute question that I came up with like right before we went live.
Okay.
So we'll see how well it goes.
Yeah.
Is there any song that you can remember that made you change your mind about a genre? So like say that you don't like a genre, you listen to a song and you go like, hey, that genre isn't that bad, or it's like, yeah, I'll give it a shot or something, you know?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Because like, I don't know, like growing up, I mean, I'm classically trained in the sense that like I was trained to play clarinet and sax and stuff, but like didn't really like classical music, you know? Like, I mean, classical in the sense of like Mozart and like classical stuff, not necessarily symphonic music, you know? Because I dig stuff like Cowboys when we did Cowboys for band, but that's like it's not really classical. Like that's just, you know, it's like a John Williams song. You know what I mean? I like Star Wars and stuff. I like Superman, basically like John Williams.
Yeah, who doesn't?
You know? But it's not necessarily classical music, and I wasn't really that into classical music. Okay? So the one that really did it for me, and I'm gonna make this reference because you're gonna like it. But I remember watching the movie Crossroads with Ralph Macchio, and he played the Paganini, and he did that. Okay, and he played that song, and I'm like, wait, what? Whoa. Like that's, and he played it on guitar because I always thought that classical music was supposed to, and I was, mind you, I was like, I don't know, 8th grade, 7th grade. I wasn't like, you know, like knowledgeable in music. And I always thought classical music had to be like either like a violin or piano or like a what's a big piano thing they use all of your limbs to do?
Like organ.
The organ, yeah. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, right? In middle school, I didn't really know what would classify it as like classical music, and then I heard that. I'm like, that's like a classical song played like on guitar, you know, like
classical guitar.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Like, can you do that? You know, so like that, I felt like was the moment that it kind of flipped the script on me, and because at the end he was kind of using the he's doing like that line from that song, and he added it to Eugene's Trick Bag, right? Which is like the final song, which like defeated the devil or whatever in that movie. And I'm like, what is this rock classical thing? Again, mind you, I was like 7th, 8th grade. I didn't know who Yngwie Malmsteen was, I didn't know like who Steve Vai was and all that stuff. So
this was like, before Canon Rock on YouTube.
And I didn't realize like the guy who's playing the devil was Steve Vai, like rock. That was the guy who played that song, and that kind of flipped the script for me because I wasn't like that into it. I don't know. I was middle school, and I didn't think classical music was cool or whatever, and I didn't really like it. So, but watching Crossroads, it kind of opened my eyes. Like, man, classical music. If you play it in like a non-classical instruments, like I don't know, ukulele, and then Jake came out with his first album, and then that song was in there, Caprice. I think it's called Caprice, like Caprice. I forget which one it is. There's tons of Caprices. And that song was in there, and I'm like, what is this madness? So like I decided to learn that song as well, and I kind of use that in some of my intros now, so I love that. So that's my first like kind of first love, classical music wise, because like I played it, didn't like it. It was just one of those like, I guess I got to play this for band or whatever, and I think we did like Farandole, we did like all these like classical pieces, and I'm just like, it's just whatever, I guess. And I can play it, like I'm a good enough clarinet player to play this, but liking it is like it's like two different things, I've always wanted to be like in the jazz band so I can play the fun songs, and then like the jazz band, they're playing cool songs in there, but and then they're like, oh, you can be the wind ensemble. I'm like, fine. Like fine, I'll be in the wind ensemble, but that kind of opened it up for me, and just appreciation for that genre of music. And so for those that didn't Caprice, let's see if I can kind of do it. And then I do that part like wrong and different, just because I don't exactly know what notes that is. So I go. I just kind of use it as an intro to. I was just gonna play 4 seconds of it, man. God, come on. Come on, Don. I mean, H.
With that
YouTube
song in particular, I don't even know 4 seconds is allowed.
I was just playing an A minor arpeggio. Okay, that could be anything. That song that you're thinking of is in B minor, sir. It's not even the right key, right?
I don't know.
I was just playing A minor arpeggios, man. Get off my back, bud.
YouTube content aware.
I know that you're only playing an A minor arpeggio, but somebody else might think it's something else,
I forgot the rest already. But yeah, that's a song that I use for an intro to this one song that will not get mentioned in this podcast.
The thing I like about learning about music and music history and stuff, right, is you kind of realize that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Where it's oh, Paganini was a guy who liked to rip and show off to other people, just like the rock stars of today. So
and the thing is, like, I don't know, like I like little hidden meanings and little kind of like Easter eggs and stuff. Even like for myself, I hide those. Like the reason why I play that is because of that reason. Like I guess this podcast lets me like kind of reveal some of this like little Easter eggs about myself, or like the things that I play, or why I play them. It has to have some kind of meaning, right? Like talking about last week or the week before, or like the advice was like, play each song like it's your life story. But like I take that into like my own kind of level of like, play the songs that kind of mean something to me. Like if I'm just gonna play a song just because it's popular and it's meaningless to me, then like why do I play that? Like the songs that I choose for my show, the songs that I choose to like to play on my ukulele, to figure out like has some kind of connection to me in my past, and it's kind of cool because that's the kind of, I don't know, like there's like musician, and there's like being an artist, like I guess that's like my way of expressing myself as an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other genres that more influenced your ukulele playing?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Steve Vai, like I was introduced to the G3, which is at that time that I was introduced to was Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, and like the main one. I'm like, it's blanking out on this. Joe Satriani, So I didn't really, my dad was like into like rock and like that kind of stuff, but I was more into my dad's like 70s folk, like, so rock just never like, like stood out for me other than like Jimi Hendrix or something. But then like listening to, to Eric Johnson do like Cliffs of Dover, and then he had a song called Manhattan, and then Steve Vai with Answers and For the Love of God. I'm like, wow, look at these guitars singing, like, and it was this kind of like an eye opener for me to like, okay, and then I was really into Europa, that Jake did. So my dad like introduced me to like, okay, we'll listen to Carlos Santana, like play that song, and really listen to like, it's like just bursting with emotions kind of guitar, and I was like, wow, like that's amazing. So that really changed my my ukulele playing, because then I'm like, I would hear a lick that they would do, and and I would try to imitate it like with my ukulele. Like I remember watching like a Santana like video or DVD at that point for you children, or and he's taking his his slide, and he's like sliding it up and down the fretboard, and he's like putting delays on it. I'm like, oh, I could do that. Like I have a delay pedal, because back in the day, like you would put like a little bit of delay on your ukulele so that when you do pickings, like it sounded even more full, I ditched that, by the way. But back then I'm like, oh, you mean like I can like turn up the like the echo on it, and just it'll come up with this really cool, like kind of almost like lasers, like coming out. So I did that, and I would just kind of copy like a lot of like guitar tricks that they would be doing. And then of course, like watching Jake, and Jake being like a pioneer of the ukulele, I saw kind of the same tricks, that he would do, and that was based off of like guitar stuff, and like still I couldn't figure out, like for example, like harmonics, like artificial harmonics Jake was doing. I'm like, I've seen people do that before, but not on ukulele, like, so I would ask like, how do you do stuff like that, or like tapping even, but yeah, a lot of the rock guitar stuff I was really influenced by. So that's like a genre of music that really played a big role, and I just wanted to rock out. Like after that, I just wanted to rock out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So classical music, you would think, just because I was raised by by Mr. Larry McIntosh, and you would think that classical music was always in, but like no, like I mean, come on, man. Like a 7th, 8th grader, what was that, like 97? So it was like 12, 13. Like a 12-year-old is not gonna be like, yeah, let's listen to classical music, willingly, unless you played piano since you were like 4 or 5. You know what I mean?
I think there's a big difference between learning music for like band class and learning like actual like classical, what's considered classical music, right? Because
we had we had different concerts for band. We have the Pops concert, which we just did pop songs, like good arrangement for like songs that we knew, and then we'd have like the spring concert. Pop's concert was usually like the first semester concert, and then which is the winter concert, and then like the spring concert was basically like classical music or whatever, like big arrangement, John Williams, with the Cowboys and stuff. So wasn't really into the spring concert music, but like that was what made me grow as a musician, because we did a song called Triptych, and it was like the slowest song, and I'm like, man, this song is so boring, but it's one of, like, when we used it for competition, like I didn't think anything of it, but we went to Oahu to do this like national competition over at PCC, was just Polynesian Cultural Center. So like bands from like California, from like Florida would fly in. It was like a national, so it wasn't just a Hawaii thing. And we played Triptych, and then like I remember the judges were like, you guys are how old? You guys are like in high school, but you guys like have this kind of this phrasing and this movement that like, and I didn't realize that slow songs, that's what McIntosh was going for. That like he wanted to show off to the judges that like it was, like that this high school band could like move together and phrase together and really like played maturely instead of just playing like a lot of like fast, whatever, like hard songs. And the definition of like a difficult song was redefined for me at that point. We're like, yeah, he's right. Like when we play, and even though we had like 10, 15 clarinets, it sounded like it was like 3 or 4 really strong ones. So like even if it's like a lot, it sounded like our whole section is like first, second, and third clarinets. Like our first section had like, I don't know, 3, 4 of them, but they sounded like one. Like one really strong, like really loud, really strong player, and they all moved together. So like that was kind of what shaped me into thinking like phrasing. Like it's all about like phrasing when you play. And my private students or people who've taken private lessons through Ukulele Underground Plus and stuff, like they know, like if we're working on on an advanced level, I'm always very particular about phrasing, because that's like how I know like a person is mature. Like when they're playing the ukulele, like you can hear maturity through phrasing. I hear it with players like Evan and Feng Yi now. Like when I hear them phrase, like, oh my god, how old are you? Like you can't be a teenager, because like this is not how teenagers phrase these like these lines and stuff. But like that's how I can tell. It's not like the notes that they're playing, it's not how fast, or it's not like what difficult songs they can play. It's like how they can phrase stuff. Like for me is really like the telltale of a good player. And
it's like mimicking a soulful singer.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, you can't.
'Cause,
like,
Yeah, it was like you hear stories about like John Mayer or whatever, and he's like soloing or something with B.B. King, right?
Yeah.
And B.B. King's like, okay, it's my turn. 2 notes only. And then John's like, oh, I have to, I'm humbled now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I tried to show up or whatever. It's like, you got it, yeah.
So it's stuff like that. We played a song called Ora, which is part of like this 5 international dances, and it's just kind of this Jewish dance, and it's like the hardest clarinet lines that you could ever see, like for a high schooler like to play, and we did it, but to the judges, like it was the slow song that was like more impressive. Not that they weren't impressed with like with that one, and it's for the band geeks out there, like, oh, I know international dances, or I know Triptych and stuff, like, but it was that, and Cowboys as well, and it's just like those really like because Cowboys is a fast-paced tune, and then it goes to like this really slow section. And so if you're like a really good band, you can play both. We're like really dynamic and like and energy, like filled with energy, but then at the same time, those dynamics are transferred over to the phrasing of it, and that's like what made our band really, really good. And I think that's what influenced me into my ukulele playing, and playing a little bit more expressively. I am trying to play more like I mentioned before, taking some lessons from Abe. I'm playing a little bit more like up and down, but back in the day, like I was a left and right player, but left and right, meaning like it's pretty linear, whereas like the up and down is more like arpeggio, you know. But my linear playing was still pretty like melodic, so it was fine. But now I get to like kind of combine the the linear and the up and down of like arpeggios, and still try to make it kind of melodic still. So that's like the challenge for me right now is to combine the things that I've learned from A and the things that I grew up with, learned from Macintosh of like, phrasing and really like beautiful melodic kind of notes.
Yeah. Whenever people say like, oh, I just don't like this type of music, or it's like, I don't like that. I think like the thing that might make people change their mind about a certain type of music is like actually learning and playing that type of music.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like every song.
Yeah.
But when you learn and you play a song, it's like you can see like, oh, there's like craft going into this, whether I like it or not. There is like somebody putting thought behind.
Right. There's
song.
something respectable to it, and anybody, like. Anybody can just like listen to one song from a specific genre and be like, oh, I don't like that, so I'm gonna swear off that genre forever because I heard that one song and it wasn't pleasing, But yeah, there's always something respectable to every single genre.
Yeah, that's me saying like I don't like country music, and then finding out like, oh, Kyle Crater Boys is a lot of
nothing
country,
but country.
a lot of country music. Oopsie.
That's like the whole soul of Kyle Crater Boys is country, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a country
Yeah.
soul,
Because it comes from Ernie Cruz Sr.
Yeah. So a lot of that.
And then you hear that, right? And it's like, man, and you hear like the songs that they play and how it reflects like living in Hawaii, and it's like, how can I say that I don't like country after like getting that appreciation for it, right?
So like the essence is like, of course, like Ernie Cruz Sr. with the cowboy kind of stuff, that's where like the country music in Kyle Crater Boys comes from. And in both of them, and especially Troy, would play these lines from like Eddie Kamai, from like Peter Moon with his, with his ukulele. That's why you hear a lot of cover songs, like Kavika is a cover song, from the Peter Moon band. And also like when Troy went off on, with another band called Palolo, they did basically a lot of like Peter Moon band songs with like, Hey Hawaii Ao, and but also like Kyle Crater Boys, the third ingredient in there is reggae, which was like hugely inspired by Butch Helemano, which is like the godfather of reggae in Hawaii. That was him. Like he opened up for Don Ho, and like. And he was like a reggae guy. So these like Don Ho fans would go to Don Ho's show and are like, what kind of music is this? This is like something new and exciting and different, And yeah, it's just Butch like just reggaeing it up. It was awesome, So Troy Fernandez, I think he made a post recently about like how, like that was one of his main like reggae inspirations, like Butch Helemano.
Yeah.
So for those of you folks who are like, oh, how did like reggae become a thing in Hawaii? So that's the name. That's the name. Look up that name. Look up whatever record, whatever stuff you can get. But that's the guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to take questions from?
Sure. From the audience. Yep. Go hit me.
So Rick said, how do you know when it's time to change your strings? How to tell if you need a different kind of string?
Rick, bro, it is pretty much up to you, like if you feel like, so we say, that, oh, my strings sound dead, so I'm going to go change my strings. Okay. But dead doesn't mean it doesn't work anymore. Like you can still use super duper old strings. Like I've played ukuleles where somebody didn't change the strings since like the 90s. And we're talking 20, 30 years, and it played fine. It sounded dead, as in like it doesn't quite have the same resonance. It's not gonna like the sustain is not there, but doesn't mean you can't play it. Okay, so if you have no particular reason to have the resonance, the sustain, or all that stuff, if you're just chalang-a-langing on your ukulele, like the strings can last forever is what I'm trying to say. You know, like a set of strings, as long as it doesn't break, can last forever. Now, when it starts to sound dead, meaning like it just doesn't sound like how it used to, it doesn't ring out like how it used to, the volume is not there, it's not sustaining, you can change your strings to get those properties back to your sound. Okay, that's when you would change it. But that is up to the player. You would know better than I would when it's time to change your strings, okay? Because you know your ukulele better than me. Like, does it sound like it's not as loud as it was before? Does the notes not ringing out? Does it feel rough? Because sometimes, like when you play it too much, because what you're trying to do is make the fret wires interact with your strings, right? So the more those fret wires interact with the strings, the more that can kind of wear it down. So you can also feel if your strings are worn down. So you change it if you feel like, yeah, this is gonna snap like, pretty soon, or they feel damaged, or they just don't feel as I guess resilient as they were before. So that's when it's time to change your strings. But there's no like timeline of like, yeah, basically every month. I know some people want to hear like, no, just tell me like how many days until I change the strings. It depends on how often you play it. It depends on how hard you play it. It depends on what kind of strings you got, because some strings need to be changed sooner than others. And there's lots and lots and lots of factors. And I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear, but it is up to you, the owner of that ukulele, when it's time. Because I mean, technically, you could play the ukulele, you could play those strings, you could change the strings a week later. You're like, just not feeling it. And just change the strings a week later. You're only as limited to as how much is in your wallet, it's in your budget. Yeah. You could basically change the strings every week, every month, and have it sounding crisp and clear every week.
I think we've all, like, I know from experience where it's like we've changed strings on our instruments.
Yeah.
And then we'll be here in the office, and then we'll be like, oh, I forgot how good this instrument sounds with brand new strings.
Pretty much every time we change strings.
But we also, I'm sure all of us here know like a really old school musician in Hawaii, and if you change the string on their instrument, they'd be like, not as good as I had the strings the way I wanted it. And it's like, really? It's like, okay, sure. Like,
but maybe because it's, like the dead sound, like, is giving them, like, maybe they're hitting it too bright, and then that like the dead sound is giving them that exact tone that they're looking for. They know
their attack. They know
yeah. So it's like, it really is like, as much as we can say like, oh, hey, change your strings here and there. It's like, if you like your strings, whatever.
You don't gotta.
Yeah.
You don't gotta.
In general, I usually recommend for people to leave the strings on for at least a couple of weeks if you're playing regularly.
Yeah, it's true.
Because just so that it'll settle in, and then you'll get the true tone of the strings on your instrument, and then make the judgment call from there. But other than that, like, you can change it whenever you want.
Whenever.
Yeah, and then also, like, if you have kind of really dead strings, sometimes that'll affect the intonation. So as you play up the neck, it might sound like things are a little off, like not truly in tune, and that might be a problem with your strings. If they're old strings, like, that could be,
That's another thing where it's like playing with musicians from Hawaii. I play up the neck, and I'm like, ooh, this intonation is not great. But then they're like, why? I don't play past 5, That's why I don't know.
It wouldn't matter.
Okay, I guess so.
Yeah. So it's up to you. Yeah, I guess so. That's one big one that I didn't bring up is like intonation. Like, then it's time to change the strings. But if that doesn't matter to you, then it could last forever. Like I said, could basically last forever. I've played ukuleles with like 30-year-old strings on them, and they're fine. Yeah.
Yoda is like, did you finally change the string on your fluke? And I don't remember the last time.
Because you got the strings from Peace, and you still haven't put it on your.
I haven't put it on this one. I don't know if I want to put it on this one. But
That's what another thing I was gonna ask too. Is you mentioned that you can change your strings, and if you don't like it, you can change it back.
Yeah.
But how long would you say to give people like time to let the strings settle into their uke and then really figure out if they like it or not?
Couple weeks. Like Aaron was saying, couple weeks.
Yeah.
Couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are some that like you play and you're immediately like, ew, no. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to mention which ones, but I have put strings on my ukulele. I'm like, no, that's not. It's not gonna work. And you'd be surprised at number 2 now. I've tried 5 strings.
I was telling a member because he switched his strings to like hard tension, and then he felt like it was too hard. So he asked if there's other alternatives or there's something else.
Yeah, lower tension.
Lower tension, but it is kind of hard because I know that there are also strings that just because they're made out of a different material, they won't feel as like hard to play or stuff too, right? So it really is like personal, like much like what you just said, where it's like you tried it and you're like, ooh, not for me. Other people will pick up and be like, ooh, I like this, right? So you just gotta try it.
Yeah, you know, like there's lots of artists now with signature strings, and you're like, man, I like that artist, and you slap it on, you're like, this is not great, because you're just like, you're like, oh, you know, maybe if I slap on like Aldrine strings, and you're like, oh, why is it so tight? Like then.
Yeah.
And I really like extra high tension. And if they're gonna be true to the sound that I like, that's what it's gonna be. I mentioned that because the guy, Tim Henson, he just came out with signature strings. Like the electric one is obvious, but he did a classical one too. And I can't find a classical. I kinda wanna try those on my ukulele and see like how they play. So put in a comment. If you guys know that Tim Henson's classical guitar strings, I'd like to try them. Like to try on my ukulele, just to see.
Okay.
For science. Or send them over. There you go. Send it to us, and I'll try it for science.
For science. Or fanboying.
Not that I'm a big Tim Henson fan or anything. Not that I think he's like the cutest male that I've ever seen.
Starts with the strings, then it goes to neck tattoos, right?
He's like, I think I've said this before, but he is the most beautiful man that I've ever seen. You know? And that's the guy who's married, and my wife is like, yeah, she agrees. He's pretty much the most beautiful man that we've ever seen, most beautiful elf that we've ever seen.
He should have been in what is it like a song of or like instead of Ed Sheeran.
He should have been Snow White. I feel like you know, if we're gonna go down that road anyway, give it to Tim Henson, fairest of them all.
Sure. Okay,
go ahead.
Brian said, what are some tips for purposeful practice? I usually just jam, and I don't know if I'm getting any better at playing or just better at playing those songs. Are there routines to learn?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Okay, you're only getting better at those songs, and sometimes not. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're playing those songs and if you're making like little mistakes here and there and just jamming, and you're not aware that you're making mistakes, you're just reinforcing those same mistakes. So first thing you need to understand is that there's a difference between playing and practicing. Practicing comes with the purpose of getting better. Playing your ukulele is just enjoying your ukulele, and you need to do both. Okay, you need to do both to get better at your ukulele. You can play your ukulele for hours on end, but that is not practice. All right, practice, and I've said this a million times, but like we've always said in this show, every podcast could be somebody's first podcast. All right, so I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible for those of you guys who have heard the spiel like 50 times before. 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes. That I've always believed, you know, we talked about Larry McIntosh, like teaching me as a kid. This is from that man. Okay, 30 minutes anymore is a little bit too much, you know, for your brain to retain the kind of information that you're trying to put on top. Okay, and that 30 minutes should be broken down into sections. Okay, 10, 10, 10, 5, 15, 10, however much you want to segment the 30 minutes. And the segments I like to do are warm-ups, technique, and scales. Sometimes they double dip, but you want to choose one scale, okay? One key. All right. So say, for example, you want to do the key of C. So one day you're like, okay, I want to sit down and practice 30 minutes like Aldrine said. I'm going to pick the key of C. Warm-ups, warming up with your hands, not even touching your ukulele, doing rock on inner peace, whatever, doing spider. If you're like, touching ukulele, you use your caterpillar and stuff, because ultimately we want to like, when we're warming up, we're not warming up so that we're learning new things with the ukulele. We're warming up to get our fingers ready so that they can get the information that we're trying to put on top. If you don't warm up and you're just trying to like force your fingers to do certain things, like learn a new chord, learn a new technique or whatever, and your fingers are not warm up to handle that, it's not gonna go that well. Okay, and you might injure yourself, in the long run. All right, so warm up always, even if it's just for 5 minutes. 10 minutes is awesome. 5 minutes is fine. Okay, and you can always double dip. You can warm up. And kind of learn the scales at the same time if you're trying to double dip that way. And when I say work with one key, so C, so you're gonna play C. Here's a C scale. Then maybe like you want to like double dip and learn your fretboard. So playing this scale up and down. Like playing different ways to play that. Maybe adding technique in there. And then adding the different ones, and then like in one key, there's of course the chords that'll sound good: C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, C, and then like playing all of that, up maybe like one inversion, two inversions, or whatever, and then like switching between each one, so that whenever you play in a specific key, no matter what chord comes at you, you should be able to do it in like all the different inversions and stuff. And then, so that's how I would kind of delegate my 30 minutes. And you're doing it with purpose, because now the next time you play in the key of C, all the notes up and down your fretboard, all the chords, and you've done like, maybe if you're adding technique to it, like me, like the G string pull off, or like slide. Or whatever, like you can, your entire fretboard up and down, like every single technique and every single chord that belongs in that key. Whenever people think of practicing scales, I was like, oh, you don't retain anything from doing that. Okay,
if you're moving from scale to scale,
focus on one. Okay. And then maybe the next day, focus on something else. The next day, focus on a different scale. Fourth day, go back to like the first scale. Then, fifth day, go back to the second scale. Sixth day, go back to the third scale. Seventh day, rest. Because even God rested in the seventh day, right, Kahai?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, are you trying to say you're better than God? Okay, if you're going to be practicing 7 days a week, right, Kahai? In this Lenten season, you going to say that? Really? You going to say that, Kahai?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just repent at the last second. You're fine.
Yeah.
Or, say this and then go to church on Sunday. Sins forgiven. You're good. Whoopsie. Good. Eat the bread. You're fine.
Take a little bit. Okay. But
I'm gonna get flamed by God Himself. I feel like sometimes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have this problem too, where they don't know what is the difference between practice and playing and stuff like that. The best way that I like hearing somebody explain it is from Harry Mack, that rapper.
Yeah.
Because he's a drummer too.
Okay.
He said, if you sound good while you're practicing, then you're probably not actually practicing. You're probably at that point playing.
Yeah.
And if you're just doing things that you already know or are easy to you, you're not really pushing yourself to be better, right?
Right.
So that is where, when you're practicing, you kind of, it can be frustrating, and I definitely go into that trap where I'm like practicing something, I'm bad at it, and then I just move on to like something that I can play and I can have fun with. But if you're really in that mode for practicing and to get better, like it should not be something that you can play easily or play cleanly, or it's just like something like, oh, this is fun. It should be something that it feels like almost like a challenge or a struggle.
Yeah. So with if you're probably like, okay, well, how do I get better at my songs then? Like you do. So for example, you're playing island style or something, and you're just like, I just can't get this chord change or whatever. I need to practice that. Like, no, what key is island style in? C. Okay. If you were to use the key of C in your practice, 30-minute practice, and the next time you play island style, you should be able to play that song, because everything, like within island style is associated with that key that you've been practicing in. So that should come pretty easy.
Yeah. Or it's like we have people who say like, oh, I can play island style, but I just have a hard part with this one particular thing. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, okay, then play it for us. And they play it, and they play through like the whole song. And they kind of stumble a little bit through that part, and then they play the rest of the song. It's like, okay, don't play the whole like, that's fine that you played it for us, but when you practice, don't play the whole song. Just focus in on the part that you stumbled on. And just go over that part like over and over again. Yeah.
Okay, next. I don't want it to run too long. People are like, we heard you say this,
but we still don't do it.
Oh wow, Aaron turning heel a little bit. It's the first attack on the audience from Aaron. Okay, go ahead.
Acouscomp said, would you please describe your uke, the woods, the tuners, the neck, the pickup, the model? It's beautiful and sounds amazing.
Thank you. This is another one of those things that I've said before, but I'm pretty sure my sponsors, Ukulele Ukulele, would love for me to talk about this ukulele. This particular ukulele is an Aldrine Guerrero model. It's a special model because it is outside of what is usually offered in an Aldrine Guerrero model. Who's Aldrine Guerrero? This guy. Okay, so I have a model over at Ukulele Ukulele. It's usually master grade koa, and it comes with these features. Okay, it has slotted headstock and flat style Martin style headstock. It has Gilbert tuners on there. Okay, ebony faceplate. Fingerboard and bridge. And that's pretty standard with the Aldrine Guerrero model. As I think all Ukulele ukuleles come with a silk neck now. Back then, it was something that was exclusive to this particular model. And then so now comes the bells and whistles that this one has. Okay, so usually, like I said, it's master grade koa, front, back, sides, all that. But this one in particular is a Sitka spruce top with with Brazilian rosewood back and sides. That's kind of what makes this one super special. So I like this one a lot. Okay, it's got a bevel right here so that I can reach the notes, but then it's not like it looks like a Florentine cut, from far away, but it's actually just a scooped out bevel so that I can reach the notes. So it looks really cool, but without sacrificing the sound by completely taking it off the ukulele. All right. It also has a armrest like this. This is called the True Relief. Okay. And it comes with abalone inlays as binding. So it's abalone binding, abalone rosette, small little abalone rosette, abalone inlay. Okay. This one is particular to me. And then like my signature, because it is a signature ukulele, you can see that in abalone, Aldrine, and then abalone inlay here. The usual inlay for the AG model, it's usually maple. Yes, it's like a bird's eye maple, like with all the inlays. But this particular one is abalone because I think if I used maple, then it would just kind of like blend in with the spruce. I wanted it to bling out a little bit, But yeah, that's the specs of my ukulele. It comes with a Artec active pickup. That's the pickup that I've been using. I've been using that for about like 10 years now. It's been a long time. 10, maybe even 15 years at this point. It's been a long time since I've used Artec. I've used other pickups before, but I don't know. Artec just works for me. Okay, a little finicky sometimes, but once I dial it down, it sounds pretty good. But yeah, this you can pick up, not this particular one, but you can pick up the master grade koa model over at Ukulele Ukulele. I'm not sure what they sell for now because prices have gone up. But last time I looked, it was at $5,000, I think. I think last time I looked, or it was like 35 for something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I mean, prices are going. Even just like normal like kaniles, kamakas, kolo ukuleles, like prices have gone up at least like $300-500, right? So yeah, I don't know. It started off as 34. But then that didn't come with the tuners, like the right tuners. So I think with the right tuners, that already made it at like 4,000.
Can you still get the Gilberts?
I think so. But it's pricey, man. It's like
it wasn't.
It's like $400 a set or something.
Were you saying, or was Mike saying that it's not him who's making it anymore? It's like his son or something.
Yeah. I do. That's right. Because I have a set of original Gilbert tuners that I pulled from like an old like classical guitar. So it's not the same. It's not the same tuners, but they're still pricey. I think like a set is like $300-400.
Yeah, I think like when I looked up to on the site, it might be that even the son kind of slowed down on making
making them.
So it might be like even harder to get them now.
Yeah, I love them. They're locking tuners, and you're probably like, wow, like 400 for like the tuners and stuff. They're locking tuners. They keep you in tune relatively, and yeah, for someone like me, and I already tune kind of a lot, so I would imagine like it'd be even worse if I didn't have locking tuners, you know. But yeah, it's all the bells and whistles and the Aldrine Guerrero model. Ukulele Ukulele. Get it over at kanileukulele.com.
Okay.
Or shop.ukuleleunderground.com. If we don't have it there, you can ask for it, and we'll get you one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another
Next.
question?
Sure.
So Karen said, where did the phrase Chang-a-lang-a-lang come from? I've heard Brad Bordessa and Matt Dahlberg say it.
Okay. Chang-a-lang is like I thought it was a Hawaiian thing, but those two dudes, I mean, Brad, he's from Hawaii, but Matt Dahlberg is probably heard it from a Hawaiian person. And just, but it just refers to just Chang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang, you know, like it's just, we're just chalang-a-lang it, you know, it's just kind of strumming, not really picking. So chalang-a-lang is just basic ukulele playing. That's what chalang-a-lang would be.
But it kind of is like a certain time period and certain style within Hawaiian music.
Yeah, I have one song, and I don't know if it fits the time period, but it's like, if I think about it, it's like, what is that type of song? It's like Aloha Friday. Is like,
yeah, I guess so.
That would, I think that would,
that's
Friday. Yeah.
Chalang-a-lang-a-lang.
Yeah.
That's really like
Kinda that.
Yeah.
Because it's like
old school, a lot of guitar, a lot of guitar and ukulele.
Yeah, it's like also used to describe like if you ask somebody like, how do you play that song? They go like, I don't know, you just chalang-a-lang to it. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. It was like, oh.
Yeah, but I do
that's
feel
what
like
it's
it's
slang.
more. It was like more prominently used like in the 1970s in Hawaii, like that type of local style, like hapa haole type of like songs. Yeah,
Hapa Haole, like moving away from like almost like I guess like Don Ho kind of stuff, and then moving more into like contemporary Hawaiian music that we know now, where it's like that in between kind of, right? Where I think there's a specific feeling to it.
yeah. Anti-Genoa, I guess, is like
For sure.
Yeah.
kind of epitome of that style.
Chalang-a-lang, yeah.
Anti-Genoa Keawe.
Oh my gosh. What is that song that you did for like a solo, and then
Tutu-A.
yeah, and then the person who made it is or who sang it was known as Naughty Abby, right?
Yeah.
It's like
That's the kind of people that do the chalang-a-lang.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all. That's what it is, really. It's a term of endearment for that kind of like chucking, strumming, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next.
Okay. I don't know. Brian asked a specific question, but
Okay.
it's kind of hard. He's like, oh, you skipped over my question, but it's kind of hard. A hard question.
Like, hey, why you don't want to answer mine? Was it too hard? Why is it too much for you guys?
I don't know how helpful our answer will be. So he said, how often do you see the barred versus the 4 fingertip way of making the movable F chord shape?
What?
Yeah.
The F
So
movable
here's
F meaning like the E shape or the G?
I guess
You
so.
think this one?
Either,
No, like
it's either G or E, right? Shape.
So that's what Kai meant. We're like,
Yeah.
I don't.
So no, it must be the E shape
So
because
this
the
one?
G would be hard to do with 4 fingers.
Well, I mean, if we're talking movable F chord, I'm thinking this one.
But he said 4 fingers, so
Yeah,
you
but
wouldn't
why
use-
would you use 4 fingers or this one?
Yeah,
Versus
I think
this
that's.
one?
I
So
think that's.
this one. That's not an F. Okay, first off, Brian, just check your fingers and your chords, man. This, it's like
Would
if
not recommend.
would not. This locks everything. Like you can't really add other than like maybe a sus4, you know. Like, and that's it. Like, you couldn't do anything else with this, you know? Just that. You'd have to like switch to something else to add anything. You're rarely gonna hear or see. You're really gonna see any like professionals like that using that chord shape. So if you're just like,
that fingering.
yeah,
for
that shape.
yeah.
Just that chord shape. So if you're like, nah, but I've like practiced that one. I put a lot of stock in that. Like that. Well, sorry. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't pay. So
Maybe it was the other one. I don't know.
yeah. Okay. Now you're just asking for too much. Okay. Just some people are like, oh, here's the answer. No. Don't give me something else. No. Okay. That kind of question, send it to us. Send a picture. You can't expect us to answer that because you're just like, oh no, this chord shape or whatever. Come on. Be more
Yeah.
specific.
Email might be better.
Yeah. So Kahai, like, and I'm just doing this to defend you,
Defend Kahai's
to
honor.
defend you, Kahai, because you're just like, hey, why would you skip over my, like that's why. Now if you're wondering why we would skip over it, it's because there's not enough information. Give us all the information, we'll answer you. There you go, Kahai. Right, you okay?
Yes.
Okay, you all right? Okay, you okay? You
Pat him
all right?
on the back.
You okay?
Well,
Can't just sit around while somebody makes you cry, buddy. You know what I mean?
this is the same Brian who asked about the chords in American Pie.
Oh, that Brian. Oh, we're talking that Brian. Oh, what?
He's part of the show now.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, I just
I don't
wanna,
remember that.
I just want to say it like because Brian asked these kinds
Yeah.
of questions. I think you might be getting too caught up in chords or like was like, how do I hold this chord? Is there another way to hold it or do this? And it's like the best advice I think we can give is like look for people playing the song on ukulele and look at what chords they're holding.
Yeah.
And
Are
try
you
and copy them.
Are you trying to tell Brian to get good?
No.
Nah. You can say it, Kai. Fight back, buddy. You just fight back. Come on.
No, I think a lot of people do this where they start playing ukulele and they reach a roadblock and they think like there must be a way for me to outthink this roadblock.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is like there's no problem with you trying it out and try it.
Yeah.
Not saying not to try it, but I think like a lot of us we find out that you copy how other people do it.
Yeah.
And then later on, you'll probably figure out like, oh, that's why everybody does it.
Yeah.
Like everybody does it a certain way.
Okay, so letting you guys know right now, just like Fridays, okay? If you're like, oh, play this song, and if we don't play it, you know why? It's because Kai doesn't like you.
No.
You can say it. You can say it, buddy. You can say it. No. I'm just joking. So,
It's
flame
just-
me instead. Don't flame Kahai. To me, I can take it. Been on the internet long enough.
It's just funny. People think like, oh, you must not have seen my comment.
It's not, hey, I've been raising my hand for the past 50 minutes, Kahai. Why wouldn't you tell Aldrine what my question is so that Aldrine can answer my question? I need this answered right now. I'm going to play a gig at Carnegie Hall, and I need to hear what he has to say so that I play this perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. You want to
See, I
do?
love it. See, we were way too friendly last week. That's why I feel I'm trying to make up for last
Trying to
week's
make up for
friendliness.
it.
Yeah, try to make up for it. Okay.
The heel energy wasn't.
Yeah, I know it just wasn't. I feel like I'm
super
sorry. I
strong.
apologize for everyone who's waiting for the show. It's like, oh my god, he has a guest on. He's totally gonna roast that guest. No, I tried. But no, it's just nice energy came out instead. Sometimes nice energy is coming out. Sometimes this kind of energy comes out for people like Brian.
Yeah. Oh, so this is a different Brian, right? And he said, if we're talking chords, why use the bar E chord instead of 1402? That's another one too, right? Like,
one. Because do you really want to have your fingers do this? Just because.
You could use that.
No, you know what? Go ahead. Use that E. Go for it. No. Okay. So why wouldn't you use this? Okay. This is the only use of this shape. That's it. Like that's the whole sentence. Because if you use this E shape, you could use that to play G. You could use that to play F. You could use that to play A. You can move that up and down. This right here doesn't
work as a movable.
Doesn't translate to anything. So if you're gonna work hard, and this is like very awkward to get to because your pinky finger going up to the C string is gonna drop. See, like how I'm dropping my wrist to do that? It's already bad for your, for form and for your wrists. All right. Because usually we, unless we're playing two or more strings with one finger, like a B flat, we don't want the thumb in the back. Okay, we want the thumb to be relatively up here to keep a good form. Now, if we're doing that, it forces our thumb to go in the back, therefore dropping our wrist to do this. So if you're playing this chord, you've already dropped your wrist down. If you're not dropping your wrist, it's not going to come out clean because this pointer finger is going to touch something. Because this pinky finger going all the way up is going to make it hard for your fingers to play that clean. And if you do play it clean, if you practice super hard to get that clean, that's the only chord that applies to, that this shape applies to. You couldn't move this chord anywhere else.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to like people using these chords, these types of chords instead of the bar chords.
Work around. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to what I was saying though, where it's like, if you're practicing something, you're not going to sound good. And when you first start playing that E chord, you're not going to sound good.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way to get that E chord better is to just keep playing it when it doesn't sound good, to keep practicing it, right? But people are like, oh, but if I do this, at least I can make the strings ring out.
Yeah.
And in some sense, it's like, it's better to have some of the strings muted and try and play that bar E chord so you can play way more stuff later on than to be locked down on this specific E chord. Mm-hmm. And if somebody ever says like, hey, we're going to switch up the whole song, we're going to move up the song half a step, you're just not going to be able to play then, right?
Yeah. See, the people don't want to hear that. I was talking about like how, we were talking about like me like doing the regional finals like for One Piece, and then like people are kind of like purposely trying to throw you off, like, so that you don't win the game and stuff. But in ukulele, everyone's rainbows and sunshines, everyone's super helpful and whatever, but like sometimes like you just gotta hear like the the harsh truth from Kahai, perhaps.
From Kahai,
right?
I would say I suck at that chord too. I suck at the E chord too.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop me from playing like One Day Soon. I love that song.
Can I stand up and give you one of these? Standing claps.
Gotta do it, guys. Just gotta do it. Sorry.
So if you're trying to like work around it and stuff, it's like a lot of extra work that you're putting in something that's not like, one, it's not that useful. Two, it's not that clean. Three, it doesn't get applied to anything else. 4, it could it could lead to an injury like down the line, because like you're trying to force your fingers to do stuff that it's not meant to do, and you're hyper extending your your wrists and stuff. Like there's all these like dangers into like trying to find shortcuts to to like tried and true ways of playing the ukulele. I'm not saying that as in like, to sound like, yeah, I'm like a traditionalist, play that. Like, no, I talked about like how doing like rock and roll kind of riffs and stuff, like trying to like forge a path and trying to figure out ways to, to do those things. But just trust me, because I've seen people like kind of hurt themselves trying to like overcompensate for some stuff that they're trying to work around. Yeah. And yes, we're all like, poking fun or whatever. But like at the end of the day, we do care about like, how you're playing it, and we do genuinely want everybody to get better, and injuring yourself is not one of those ways, or playing inefficiently is not one of those ways. Okay, so sometimes we gotta say these things like, don't do that. Sometimes we gotta wag our finger. We're like, you shouldn't be doing that. Just for the good, right?
Yeah. I feel like it's like the thing of like you might be able to play that chord or that workaround, and you have that gratification of like, I can do it. I outsmarted this. But it's almost like a delayed reaction where it's like you might hurt yourself later on. Mm-hmm. Or we have a lot of people who like, they're like, oh, I figured out how to play this chord early on in a different way. And then we tell them like, if you want to play the song, you gotta relearn to play that chord.
Yeah.
There's just like no other way to play.
This voicing doesn't make sense either. Like, I hate this voicing because like you play this 4, it's like the same. You get these 2 same notes.
Oh, 2 middle strings is the same note.
And then like, so for the E. No, like I'd rather have like, because the top and the bottom usually is what the doubles that you'll get, and then the 2 to kind of like do the harmony. So when you strum down, you're gonna hit that B note. When you strum up, you hit that B note again. Strumming wise. So let's get technical with it, yeah. So strumming, if I played this E and I strum down and I strum up, it's uniform because I'm going to hit an E first, and I'm going to hit B, and I'm going to hit B on the way up. So regardless of down and up, but this, it's the same note in the middle and different notes on the down and up. So watch. It's like 2 different kinds. Yeah. So, and hitting this, like, this is kind of this G sharp first. I don't know, in the 3rd. I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's inefficient. It'll hurt you in the long run. And there's just better voicings out there. Like this. it's so it's so trained.
It works in that song.
And I don't think it was even. I think it's this. Like their fingering was this. So it still had the 2 like B's.
And that's not an actual E chord, right? That's like a power chord.
Yeah. Power chord E.
Power chord.
And then I heard that the reason why that uke is so prominent too is because the person who mixed that song hated the sound of their guitars and he turned down their guitars in the mixes of all their songs. So it's like not just that particular song.
Oh man, if you guys haven't seen I think I mentioned this before. If you guys haven't seen the SNL skit about that, like on that song, did you see it yet?
No.
Yo, it's so funny. It's so funny. It was exactly what I was thinking. What everyone, I guess all the people in this office were thinking when that song came out. And so it's like, I don't know if we should do that song. It's like the implications of that song, Yeah. So watch the SNL skit about that song. Hilarious.
Yeah. Can you do just like some quick tips on how to hold the E chord?
Yeah.
Just for people who are interested.
A good bar is a good step 1 for this. A good bar, meaning you're trying to hug this fret wire right here. A lot of the times, the problem is, with the bar, a lot of people try to get it like this. Okay, straighten that finger up and hug the fret wire as close as possible, because really when we place our fingers down, where our fingers make contact with the string is not where that string is being held down. It's making contact with the fret wire, okay? So if you're doing this, that's why I like the, because the further away from the fret wire, even though I'm not like, I'm right here, I'm not going over it, this is going over the fret wire, I'm just going in the back of it. It's not clean. But the closer you get to the fret wire, it's cleaner. Okay? And then do the same thing with the ring finger, close to the fret wire. Don't like, if you're doing this, if it's coming at an angle, come at it like as straight as you can and close to the fret wire as possible. Okay, and then you want to aim your ring finger knuckle on the E string. So aim that on the E string and let the rest of your fingers just rest over it, because really it's your wrist that's kind of just pointed a little bit forward. You want you to move your wrist. So see how the wrist is not dropped like the other chord. Wrist is straight. You just kind of want to move it a little bit forward. And if your ring finger is planted there, then see how like that lifts the ring finger. You're just trying to clear that A string.
Yeah. And also that like you go to the B chord pretty often, right? From the E. So
from
like,
here,
it's
so there's
like
a B and then there's A. So if we're talking efficiency, because if we're going like this and then like having the B looks completely different, and even the A, you gotta like go back to here and like move everything up. It's just not that practical. Okay, a lot of people trying to force it. It's just not that practical.
Yeah,
and I say that with confidence, and even though I know it's gonna be tons of haters and flames and stuff, and Reddit's gonna be like, oh my god, I'll drink your identity again.
So like with people playing that chord too, like the thing that we get is like, oh, my A is muted or something.
Yeah.
And it's like when you start, that's how it's gonna be. But like as long as you get those three, the G, C, and E strings, like, and you're playing with other people, nobody's gonna notice like if your A is muted or not.
Yeah.
Like, and it's better to do that and mute your A now and like really try. Because one day we've had this where it's like we tell people to play the chord like this, and they do it for like a week or so, and then after a week they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got it."
Yeah, you just gotta, and it's not gonna happen if you're not gonna try it. If you're not gonna practice it, it's just that you'll never get it. Yeah, so you gotta just practice it. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I was kind of thinking, when do I reach that uncle status, Kahai? Where like, when you're a player, right? There's like the older players that no matter how wrong, you don't want to correct really. Like you just kind of let them talk, even if they're wrong, Like when do I get to that point where like I'll say something kind of confidently, and as an old man, I'll say it because like, oh, just based on my playing and back in my day, we used to kind of do it like this and whatever. And they're like, okay, but then like I'm still at that age where like if I said something that's like not in line with what's going on right now, like I get flamed for it,
I don't know if it's an age or it's how you look and how you carry yourself. Because that uncle, very specifically to me, wears shirts with holes in them.
So should I wear I should wear shirts with holes? I have shirts with holes. Yeah. I didn't think that's what you wanted.
It almost this.
I'm wearing the hat with the feather lay on it. I thought I would get uncle status with my hat.
This uncle looks like Santa Claus, but it is nowhere near Christmas.
You know what I mean? Like I got rid of the emo look with the finger armor and like the chains and stuff that I used to have, and like with the hair and the flipping and whatever. Now I look I wear like tacky shirts to say hello to my little friend. By the way, you can get this over at shop.ukuleleunderground.com. Awesome shirt. And then with my big hat, I thought like the kids are like, oh, okay, that guy's no longer no longer one of us. Like, and we just let him talk. We just let the old man just say old man things and just let him yell at clouds. But no,
I feel this is in the best way possible. I think you look a little bit too presentable. If you look less presentable.
I hate that so much.
Like the uncles who would tell me how to play music down at my dad's shop, I would just go, okay, sure. Because it's like, I don't want to argue with this person. I'm just gonna let them tell me whatever.
Yeah, because I was jamming. Like I don't want to say where. I don't want to say with who, but I was jamming, and there's some uncles that I was jamming with, and I hate how this might sound kind of cocky, but I've done a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've done a lot with my career. I feel like I kind of know what I'm talking about. But I felt like I couldn't say anything, even though I'm technically the expert in the little group, that I was playing with. And it was just like a bunch of drunken uncles, right? But drunken uncles, I can't correct them. Because if I said something to correct them, like it's disrespectful, right? But so when do I get to be in that that status of drunken uncle that can't be corrected?
Isn't it too? Like,
even if I'm wrong.
Yeah, isn't it too?
Yeah.
Is like if you correct them, aren't you afraid? I can imagine this person too saying, "What? You think you know better?
Why you think you know everything, bro?
Oh, sorry, Uncle.
Why you better than cuz?
Yeah.
You got that? Why you better than Jake? Why you think you better than Jake?
No.
Why you think you're that good, bro?
That's why you just go, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so, I'm just saying, like, because I feel like with ours, if someone's like, how can I play my E like this? I'm like, maybe you shouldn't. And they're like, yeah, no, but, like anything that you add to the no, but is that kind of correction of like, no, but you don't know, like I'm trying to do this or whatever. But if that uncle was just like, the chords to this song is this. It's just something that simple. Like that's an example. Okay. Like we were jamming this one song and I'm like, I think there's a chord in between this chord and that chord. He's like, I've always played it like this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just back off. You just back off. Like me even mentioning that, like, I think you missed the chord was like, I was like, oh, what you mean, bro? I was playing this song for like before you were born, cuz. And then now you telling me that I'm playing this song wrong. Why? Right?
I think it's like as much as we try to be the heel.
Yeah.
It's like, can John Cena truly be the heel when he's still going to like children's hospitals?
I guess so.
Like we still have that perception of like, oh, they're still good guys.
I'm still going, hey, hello everyone, and welcome. Yeah, right. Like still rainbows and sunshines. Like if I'm gonna turn heel, I guess I should go full heel, right? Did not like dip my toe in it or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the entire show. Actually.
That's ridiculous. Why would you hold that? Like I don't even know what to say. Like as a full heel, like how? Let's see. Who would you consider is a full heel like in the ukulele world?
Full heel.
Nobody.
No one, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm dipping my toe in it. Like I want to. Maybe I should be the first like real heel. Oh man, I would accept. I'll play that role. And just get all, because I get all the hate anyway. Like now, it's like what would be the difference? Like I've heard everything from the you can't sing, from the you look like Spider-Man's friend, like to that hat looks ridiculous, to like anything, right? Like like I've heard all of it, and nope, just deflects off within my my Teflon skin. Because I've been on the internet for way too long to know that just words, man. Like you've actually wasted your time like typing all that because I don't care.
Okay. Yep. On that note.
So Kai, think about it. When do I get to be uncle status?
Yeah.
When you have that one mole with the long hair.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try to grow that. I have one mole right here. So I'm to wait until this mole gets the hair out.
Yeah, the Filipino uncle.
Filipino uncle with the hair.
Yeah,
okay,
long,
got it.
It's like
Got
really
it.
long. Nobody's gonna say anything.
Nobody's
gonna say anything about the mole or your ukulele skills or the advice that you give.
This is only for you guys. I'm not gonna do this on camera.
Yeah.
But this is the posture you have to have when you ask to play somebody's ukulele. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh man, if you did it on camera, I feel like we'd get at least 50,000 more subscribers.
Brother Sam said the mole plus the jade pinky ring.
So we all know who this is, right? Like we know we can picture like it's like creating a caricature of the person, right? It's like,
That's it. That's when do I get uncle status? I want that even more so than like the ukulele master status. I want ukulele uncle status. Unks. Ukulele unks.
Yeah.
Unks.
Yeah.
Who unks?
Yeah.
And then, and if I say things like that might offend people, like, that's just how Uncle talks. Like I'm slowly trying to pave my way to ukulele unk status. Okay?
I feel like Bruno Mars was trying to do that for a while too. It's like I really want to get to that.
To the Filipino uncle?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get that mustache. The Bruno Mars stash. Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. And,
Yeah.
oh man, that's it. That's why I'm just trying to get to unk status, okay? Where like I say things and like I make fun of people. If you're like, it's just Aldrine, that's Uncle Aldrine talking, and just sometimes he sees things.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal for me now. Okay, I found a new goal, Kahai, is I want to reach ukulele uncle status.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Bumble Bard said Ukulele Uncleground.
Ukulele Uncleground. That's it. That's
Oh my
what I'm
gosh.
trying to get to.
That's like, if we had control of the site more, like that would be April Fool's. Ukulele Uncleground. We change
Ukulele
the
Yeah, we spend all day today.
We're gonna redirect the site to that ukuleleuncleground.com.
Oh man, do it. Do it. That okay. My new goal in ukulele is not to play up and down like Abel Agreemus, not to play melodically and stuff, but just to be an ukulele uncle. Where we can just spew things out.
I would love to see you as an ukulele uncle, and then Abe coming up to you and being like, "Oh, Aldrine actually is like this," and it's like, "Why? Who
You think you? Right? You think you, Abe? Right? Just because you went to a conservatory, huh? Just because you the kind, because you get the kind diploma, you think you better than me, bro? Why you better than Jake? Why you better than brother is? Why you think you better than is now? Why?
This guy plays xylophone. Oh, he's so good.
The kind of ting-a-ling-a-ling with his I almost swore because you have to. If you're in that Uncle Stan's, you gotta swear a little bit, right? Oh, he's ting-a-ling with his the kind.
That's the new Chang.
Ting-a-ling. Why you think just because you get the paper, let's say that you good.
Oh my
Why
gosh.
then you think you good now?
Oh my gosh.
Why Abe, you think you good just because you get the paper?
Okay.
I think I have to talk like that in order to get the uncle status. Part of the uncle status, I have to talk in pidgin.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Man. See, I wish the podcast was on April Fools. I could have just done the whole thing in that in that uncle persona that I'm trying to get to.
I mean, the thing I
Full
think
pidgin
of,
the whole way.
the thing I think of is like, what are we gonna do for Halloween, right? And so.
Oh, ukulele uncle. There it is.
Uncleground.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ukulele Uncleground.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. With that said,
Yeah.
check out ukuleleunderground.com if you want to learn how to play the ukulele. We got lessons. We got all kinds of stuff there. There's a community over at forum.ukuleleunderground.com. There's a place you can get awesome shirts like Say Hello to My Little Friend over at shop.ukuleleunderground.com. We've been around for almost 2 decades now, so, it's the name you can trust.
Come on, that's old enough to be an uncle,
It's
right?
old enough to be uncle status. Like I feel like in the ukulele teachers world, I am the uncle, even though some of them are older than me. So yeah. So check out ukuleleunderground.com to learn how to play the ukulele. Take your ukulele playing to the next level by signing up for UU Plus. All right. This is Uncle Aldrine signing off. I'll see you guys next time, brah. Behave, cuz. Peace. Chakas.